but I'm getting these small victories along the way, and it's just sign that, whatever power there is telling me, you're on the right path. Just keep going. Just keep going.
I think that's so true, and I want to impress upon the fact that when you talked about the whole restaurant business that you did, and now in the wines industry, and now in real estate, not once did you talk about, well, I did it for the money. You were talking about doing it for the value that you're providing, and providing an experience to people that they didn't even know that they could have. I think if somebody comes from that perspective, if somebody comes from that frame of mind, it's a very different way of operating a business versus looking at just the bottom line. And again, I'm not saying that the bottom line and the money is not important. It is very, very important. But I think when you are looking at it from the value that you're bringing to the other person and meeting their needs or their wants, I think the growth is exponential.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, yeah, obviously it's a business, and at the end of the day, it's about making money. But I think, why are we making the money? Our objective to make this money, or to invest, or is to maintain a certain lifestyle, to achieve a certain lifestyle. Listen, this life is short. It's really short-lived. You should be doing things that you're passionate about, spending time with the people you truly care about. For me, I made so much money with regards to the wine sales. I was a top sales rep for the country for 2 years. But it's a constant rat race. What is the end game here? What is the end game? My objective is to spend more time, quality time with my family, doing activities that I enjoy. And, real estate investment is a means to get to that. And when I'm saying listening to people, you listening to their wants and needs. They have different, it's spending time with family, whatever it may be. You're going to use that tool as an investment vehicle in real estate as obtaining those needs. So you hear their needs, and then you say, hey, I have a possible solution to help you get there quicker. Let me help you get to where you want to be. And I think people really, they get attracted to that, right? It's like, you got enough going on. Let me take a little bit off your plate, so you have that much more space now to fill that part of your life with things that you want to do, whether it's spending time with family, playing golf, going to the beach, hiking, so on and so forth, travel, whatever, what have you. But yeah, it's those little things, you want to give, and again, that's giving people a service that I did in hospitality. I'm providing you a service. I want to help you make your experience, and the experience here is this short window that we have in this thing that we called life. I want to make your experience more fulfilling, and let me provide this service to you, because that's what I'm in. I'm in the hospitality industry, whether it's as an investment vehicle or what have you. But that's something that really charges me, is to help these people obtain their goals and and in the end game.
No, that's amazing. But obviously, when you're starting something new, like you were starting real estate, and then you had your day job that you had to manage, right? It becomes obviously very challenging, because I think initially you have to put in the hours, not only to learn the new skill, but also actually as your business is growing, you have to put in that time. I'm just curious what challenges did you face with that? How did you overcome those challenges, especially with your family life? At the end of the day, we all want to spend time with our families. We all want to be around our near and dear ones. But then the business side of it also requires our attention. How did you manage that?
Listen, that is, they say burning the candle from both ends, and then ultimately what's going to happen, it's going to burn out when it gets to the middle. And, our objective is not to do that. Yeah, you and me could both relate, because we're both, wearing a couple of hats right now. I had this burning desire inside me to get to this point where I could focus exclusively on real estate. However, I also have this commitment and obligation to provide for my family, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I'll tell you one thing I did do is I hired a virtual assistant, which has been so helpful. I can't tell you the amount of work I was able to just hand that off to. And it just opened up a lot more windows for me. It's been exponentially improved my life. My sales have increased. I'm getting a lot more done. But I will say I do this, and this is super important to me. My kids are, they're young. They're 7 and 8 and a half. When I get home from 6, 7 o'clock until they go to bed, that's daddy time. Computers close. I'm making one-on-one time, because I'm not going to have that time again, and I know that. That's a fleeting moment. When I go to bed, I'll get back to work, and it's like, oh, you're doing too much, you're exhausted. But I love it. It fuels me. It gives me energy to to underwrite deals, to look at things, to see what's going on, to interact with people like yourselves. It's exciting, because the end game is what's it's like caffeine to me. It keeps me going because I know within like 3 to 5 years where we're going to be, right? If we continue down this path. So it's it's also about taking care of yourself. I mean, stay away from the devil's dungeon, as they say. Just keeping a sober mind, eating right, exercising, meditating, breathing. I mean, doing meditation. I mean, these are things that you as a physician know help people, right? But it's just like a lot of people know what they need to do, but we still, for some reason, we don't do it. But I really make forth an intention to take care of myself spiritually, physically, and mentally. And part of that is ensuring that I make time for my family. That's priority number one.
I want to dive into this whole concept of making priority your family a priority and not just kind of working all the time, right? Of course, you enjoy real estate, I enjoy real estate, but sometimes it becomes very hard to turn it off. Even when you're with your family, you're like your brain is somewhere else. How are you intentional about blocking time off for family and for kids so that you're like really focused on them and not necessarily having that your business play at the back of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't constantly have work on my mind when I wasn't working. But one thing I've learned, and it's through this master group, we're both part of the master group with Hunter Thompson called Raise Masters, and one thing I've learned through that group is time blocking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a certain amount of hours where I'm just going to work exclusively on real estate. I'm going to work exclusively on the wine or whatever, the website, doing podcasts, so on and so forth. But then I'm making a block where this time right here, this is for my kids. This time right here is for my family. Right. And the thoughts will pop in my head, but it's also like you got to be accountable. Like, I see you coming in. I'm not going to let you in. You're going to have to wait another couple hours, thoughts, before you come in, because right now, this time is for my family. So time blocking does work. Holding yourself accountable. Don't beat yourself up with, they say when you meditate, sometimes your mind goes astray and, why can't I just focus? Don't beat yourself up. Be kind enough to say, all right, you know what, it slipped in, but I'm going to push it out, and I'm going to go back to that later. But time blocking helps, for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, I think that's a helpful technique. I certainly am working on it myself, but I think it's a very, very effective tool or technique because that you're going to give a certain amount of time to a particular activity, and that also brings certain peace to you because that you're giving enough time to each activity that is needed rather than switching from one activity to the next.
You get a lot more work done that way, for sure. When you're
absolutely.
Instead of going back and forth, you're doing a bunch of different things. By focusing on the one activity, you're getting a lot more within that category done within that allotted time. So at the end of the day, you're accomplishing a lot more than have you just be jumping around all day. It's just it's a better time management overall. I mean, it just really, really is beneficial.
Yeah. Your wine gig, are you still doing that though, by the way?
I am.
Industry
I'm
thing?
still doing it.
Yeah. So go ahead. So what were you saying?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm still doing it, but something like the virtual assistant, it enables me to do that because I can have the virtual assistant do certain things like putting out offers and things. I've been in the wine industry long enough now where I'm allowed to kind of work from home most of the days. But yeah, I'm still doing it. Listen, right now I make a lot of money doing it, and I don't know, that's not to sound pretentious or anything, and I have to maintain that type of lifestyle for the time being. I know people say we got to dive all in, but I'm not a single dad. I have 2 kids, a mortgage, and cars and stuff to pay and things like that. So I'm going all in, but maybe I'm going 1 foot at a time into the pool versus just jumping in full speed ahead. Whether or not that's going to be the right decision, I don't know. But in my gut, it feels right, and it's the hand I'm dealt right now.
Yeah, you're right because when and that's kind of a struggle that I go through too, right? Like I'm a full-time physician. I need to be available for my physician job, and this is on top of that. So a lot of times, the progress that you made is going to be dependent on the amount of time that you put into it. right? Or the amount of resources. Actually, I shouldn't say just time, I should say resources, because, if you have access to stuff like a VA and, other resources, that can certainly accelerate your growth in that particular venture, whatever you're doing. But a lot of times, whatever input has to come from you gets slowed down because you have these other responsibilities, these other things that you need to take care of at the same time. What ends up happening is when we go, especially on social media, we see that these flashy images of somebody's making X amount of dollars and somebody's being super successful, and we often forget that they've had to put the same amount of effort, if not more, to get to where they are now. They're only surfacing now because of the effort they put in the years past.
So true, man. I mean, you couldn't have said it better yourself. I mean, a lot of times, I've been a victim of looking at successful people and resenting them. Oh, look how lucky they are. They live this lifestyle. But the reality is you don't see behind the scene what they've put into it. I think they say something like CEOs read an average of 60 books a year, and then the average American reads less than one a year. I mean, it's just the amount of time, effort that these people are putting in behind the scenes is admirable. And resentment gets you nowhere. So I think it's just a matter of, for me at least, I see an end game where we're going to be able to transition completely to real estate, and to me that's a goal, and that excites me, and that keeps me going. Because right now, we're in it. We're doing it right now. We're in it. We're going to do 80-hour weeks right now, but there's an end game, okay? There's an end game, and that gets me excited, and that gets me motivated to keep going. And you get these little glimpses, these small victories. Small victories are big victories, and you cannot underplay those. I mean, we got a lot going on. All right, maybe I won't get to that email right away, but ultimately I will respond. But I'm getting these small victories along the way, and it's just a sign that whatever power there is telling me you're on the right path. Just keep going. Just keep going. And my belief is pursuit. And if I maintain my goals and I take that one step at a time, ultimately we're going to get there. It's excuses. It's very easy to make an excuse. I'm too busy. I'm burning. I'm exhausted at my other job. How can I focus on this real estate? I mean, that's a cop out to me. And I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my family to take action while I can, while I'm in a position. I mean, I can't tell you, not to jump around. One of my most motivating factors in life is looking at people, the generation or two, like my parents' generation, and seeing the ones that are struggling so badly right now just to get by. Social Security isn't covering it. They made decisions that I'm not going to make. I don't want. I know they did the best they could, but maybe they were a little complacent, just having a W-2 and relying exclusively on a 401k. I mean, what has that done really for the majority of Americans? It hasn't really provided a lifestyle in the golden years of your life where you could really enjoy yourself and do things that you want to do. So I want to make sure that when I get to that time, I did everything in my power to ensure that, one, I'm able to do what I want to do, my wife and I, and two, my family is set up to take on whatever it is that I create and put them in a better position. We always just want to do a little bit better than the generation before us, right?
All right, guys, if you haven't done already, please go check out my free video series on how to do due diligence on operators and on deals before investing in them. It's called Real Estate RX for Passive Investors, and it's available at www.rerxcourse.com.